So for this summer, in fact, we have, as you mentioned before, quite a dramatic reversal from the year before. We have almost a problem of too much gas around. For the coming winter, there are certainly significant risks. In many ways, Europe was lucky over the past winter. The weather was pretty mild, so not too much heating demand. And demand in Northeast Asia for liquefied natural gas was fairly muted, partly owing to China's zero COVID policy. Now, obviously, that policy has lifted. It's a big unknown factor, but there could be a resurgence in LNG demand in Asia. Potentially, the weather could be a lot colder, so there are certainly significant risks heading into this coming winter, but the situation looks a lot better than it did this time a year ago.
It is pretty remarkable that heading into this summer, we're now looking at a situation where we've got too much LNG. And what does that mean for the incentives for LNG producers if we're looking at an oversupplied market for the next few months?
So in a one possible scenario, which I think is still very unlikely based on where prices are at, is that prices in Europe and Asia fall so much that it no longer makes sense for producers, for example, in the US, to load cargoes. That would have to mean that prices in Europe and Asia fall to the level of the US's Henry Hub. We're far from that level, but it happened in 2020 over the pandemic year, and it's possible that it could happen again.
Okay, very clear. And as you mentioned, one of the big, if not the biggest unknown is what happens in China and how demand for LNG evolves there. What are we seeing right now? What are the signals you're getting in terms of demand from China?
So at the moment, for the coming months, it doesn't look like there's going to be a huge increase in China's LNG demand. CNPC, the state-owned Chinese company, doesn't expect Chinese buyers to be open in the spot market, so it expects really only cargoes to come under long-term contracts. So this year, perhaps we won't see a big increase in LNG demand, but who knows how strongly and how fast the economy there will recover.
One of the trends that we observed in the wake of the surge in natural gas prices was switching from many industrial users of gas, switching from gas to oil. Now that gas prices have come down, are you seeing a reversal of that trend and some of those users industrial users switching from oil back into gas?
Yes, indeed. So gas prices are now below crude oil prices on an energy equivalent basis. They're also below coal prices. So on the one hand, in the power sector, there's an incentive to burn gas ahead of coal for power generation. And then, yes, on the other hand, there's now an incentive to use gas as a feedstock as opposed to crude oil and other products.